Am I the asshole for removing a groupmate's name from final project 3 days before it's due? Hello. I'm currently in CC nearing the end of the semester. I'm taking a fully online chem class. For this particular class, our professor assigns a group project for our final lab consisting of 3 people. She had it open for people to choose which experiment we wanted to conduct and create a presentation on a month ahead of its due date. So I reached out the day after it was assigned to my group mates, and this one girl, who I'll call B, always took forever to reply. She canceled on our meetup to go over splitting the work on Zoom 10 minutes after our meetup time, and has overall been lacking in communication. I understand we have work and family matters, but it does not take long to give a short update on what's going on. Fast forward to 2 weeks before the final is due, me and the other girl, not B, had already finished our parts and have been waiting on B to finish her section consisting of just 3 slides out of like 12. So I texted in the group chat reminding her to finish it at least 3-4 days before the due date, so it's not submitted last minute, and just in case we need to edit anything. No reply. I gave a final reminder that I can do her slides too, but instead I'll leave her name out, and she finally replied. She said she'll do it by the next night. She did not. So I just ended up taking her names off and doing her slides and submitting it 3 days before it due after letting my professor know what happened, in which she was more than willing to take her name off the official list of groups. My professor encouraged us to update her on group mates who do not participate, so the people who actually do the work aren't also getting dragged down by them. Now she's texting the GC about the slides asking if I had submitted a blank presentation for her sections. I don't think she bothered to even open the slides ever during the entire month, because I realized she never requested for edit access LOL. She seems to have no idea she's going to get a 0 on this assignment, since she's not asking me about why her name's not on it. Now I feel like an asshole because this wasn't that difficult of an assignment for me. It didn't take me all that long to do. And since it's worth a lot of points, it could impact her grades heavily. But at the same time, we had a month to work on it. It's been done. There's nothing we can do about it but AITA. People who skate through group projects in college are terrible to work with in real life. I think the lesson had to be learned. Info. Had everyone agreed to submit the work 3 days before the deadline? She's messing around and not participating, so I think you're absolutely right to flag this to the professor. But if she technically has 3 days to do the work, I'm not sure I agree with your decision to submit early. It's wild that people are actually defending B in these comments. Shows what kind of group partner y'all would be in a project. Unreliable and lazy. Well, some people in these comments are telling on themselves. If we were at work and I had been asking a co-worker for their part of a project for a month and they blew me off, I would absolutely tell my boss they didn't do their part and shouldn't receive credit. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. It doesn't matter that the assignment wasn't difficult for you, or even that it didn't take you long to make up for the work B didn't do. She blew you off for an entire month, and that's just crap behavior. If you want credit for work, you have to at least make an attempt to do it, or be upfront with your teammates, and tell them you're having a problem meeting the deadline. Not the asshole, but I would have approached your professor much earlier regarding her lack of involvement, and let them give her the warning re her name being taken off. Am I the asshole for not being sympathetic over the experience my friend had in my home country? To start with, I, 30s F, am from Russia, but have moved overseas 15 years ago alongside my parents. I haven't visited my home country since COVID and the war with Ukraine, and I have family in both. There's a girl in our friend group called Amy, 30s F. Amy is a pretty curvy woman and is into anime, cosplay, and usually wears short skirts and are quite revealing tops. I am not particularly close to her, but for about a year she was going on about visiting Russia and how it is her dream. She does not have any friends or family there. I have strongly advised her against it due to the political situation. I have also warned her about body-shaming culture there and the hell it caused me in school, and how people can and will make snarky remarks about her on the street, and even to her face, and since she takes everything to heart, her visit will likely be ruined, and she will get deeply hurt. I was told that I am clearly exaggerating, and she read differently on forums. That was a month ago. She has returned 2 weeks ago, and since then will not stop crying and complaining how mean people were to her, how unsafe she felt, she got scammed twice on the street on her first day, and how she was escorted out from some public places. I am not sure if it was due to the way she dressed or for wearing a LGBTQIA+ badge, as she keeps changing the story, which was humiliating for her. I genuinely do feel bad for her, but at the same time she was warned and still went. She was still talking about it last week, and basically started having a go at me for not doing a better job at persuading her not to go. I have said I have spent over 10 months warning her and telling her not to, and she still went. She is an adult and made her decision despite the warnings, and it is not something I can magically fix for her. Amy and some of her friends didn't like my response and called me insensitive asshole and keep acting if I should take responsibility over how Amy was treated because I am from that country. I should take responsibility over how Amy was treated because I am from that country. This is a road we do not want to go down. If I'm right in guessing that Amy is American, this would end badly for her. Not the asshole. If she was openly displaying LGBT symbolics, she'd get arrested and charged with LGBT propaganda. She's lucky to be back so soon, let her know that. Not the asshole. I have warned her about it since she is an active LGBTQ+ supporter and bisexual herself. Genuinely a friend of mine was fine there over a rainbow t-shirt her toddler was wearing. But for about a year she was going on about visiting Russia and how it is her dream. She does not have any friends or family there. What? You can't fix stupid. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. At what point do we adult? Clearly Amy doesn't think that her 30s is the time to take responsibilities for her own choices and do some adulting. Not the asshole. I'm sorry you were stupid enough to not listen to the advice I, someone who lived there for a long time, gave. I'm sorry you're dumb enough to not realize you're damned lucky to be back and not detained as your behavior would usually warrant there. I'm sorry you're too immature to take responsibility for yourself as an adult should. Remember, it's the thought that counts. AITA. My nephew is living with me and not following the rules. Am I the asshole for make my nephew 37 leave my home for not following my rules? He has been at my house since the end of July. The first rule was no drinking. Second rule was you have to get a job, or at least work on getting your GED. He did good at first. He started having more and more issues with drinking. I have provided everything for him to try to do good, but at this point he told me he doesn't need help. I have sent him phone numbers for rehabilitation. He said he doesn't need it, he is fine. The problem is I'm not fine with it. My friend thinks I'm being too harsh on him, and I need to teach him how to be an adult. I know it's winter, which does make me feel bad. He has taken money from me. I have to hide any kind of money I do have. He told me the liquor store give him free alcohol and finds bottles of wine behind the grocery store. I don't buy it, but his dad thinks he is telling the truth. He doesn't do anything around the house. He just stays in his room, sleeps and drinks. No job, and not working on his GED. He went after my daughter verbally that she is spying on him. She's not, she lives in my home also. Am I doing the wrong thing by making him leave? In whose world do you have to teach a grown-ass man how to adult? Tell your friend to take him in and teach him if they think that's appropriate. Good heavens. He's stealing, he's done. Family who think you're too harsh can take him in. Not the asshole. This isn't a child. This is a middle-aged man responsible for his own outcomes. You are not on the hook for what happens to him when you kick him out. He is clearly not allowing you to have a safe, healthy home. It's time for him to leave. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Your nephew is 37? That's low-key too old to be doing this. Not the asshole. Kick him out. He is a man and needs to act like one. You tried to help, but he is a freeloader and neither your problem nor your responsibility. Let him go live with his role model, his dad. Not the asshole. His dad can look after him. Unfortunately, he's an alcoholic, and lying is a big part of that. If he doesn't believe he needs help, it won't work. He needs to go. Am I the asshole for asking my brother to bring me to the ER and upsetting my mom? I'm posting here because I've been feeling really guilty about this situation. A couple of days ago, I got suddenly sick. At first I thought I just needed to rest, but then I started throwing up repeatedly. I kept getting hot flashes, feeling like I was going to pass out, before vomiting again and getting really cold after. This went on every 10-15 minutes for about 3 hours, and I couldn't keep water or medication down. This exact thing happened to me a few months ago, and after 5 hours of non-stop vomiting, I ended up in the ER. Since it felt the same this time and wasn't stopping, I called my brother to ask if he could bring me to the ER again. We live very close to each other, and I live alone, so he was the only nearby person I could realistically ask. At the hospital, they put in 4 and ran tests. Last time the results took a few hours, so I told my brother he could go home, and I'd call him when I was discharged. They ended up keeping me overnight, so I texted him that he didn't need to pick me up this time. The next morning, I called my mom to see if she could pick me up since my brother was at work and she was home. She told me she was busy and that I shouldn't have gone to the ER for something like that. She said my dad would pick me up whenever he woke up. My dad wasn't working that day and tends to sleep in when he doesn't work, so I had no idea when he'd come, but the hospital needed the room, so I waited in the hall until he arrived. The following morning, sensing a weird vibe from my mom, I called to check in. She immediately told me she had been sick too. She threw up a couple of times and then it stopped, and that it wasn't hard to handle unless you're weak. She said I was weak for going to the hospital, and that I was taking advantage of my brother because he's too kind to tell me to tough it out. I then found out she wasn't actually busy the day before. She just didn't want to pick me up. My brother really is kind, and he's also overworked. He's self-employed and often works long hours. I already felt bad asking him for help, even though it was a short drive. He stayed up pretty late waiting to hear from me, so I know he must have been exhausted the next day. He hasn't said anything about the situation and doesn't seem upset, but I can't stop feeling guilty about it. So, am I the asshole for asking my brother to take me to the ER and upsetting my mom? Good grief, the hospital kept you overnight. That is not a tough it out situation. Edited to add, not the asshole. Considering you stayed in, this was not a false panic, but valider situation. Not the asshole, but your mom is one. Brother is not one. Not the asshole, though your mother sure is. I bet she's the kind of person who had to walk uphill both ways going to school, and your generation has it easy. It was reasonable going to ER in your situation. Thank your brother, maybe buy him a chocolate or promise to help him in the future, and that should be it. You got attention mommy thinks she deserves instead? Your mother is totally whack. Vomiting that much upsets your body's electrolytes and can be dangerous. You did the right thing. Apparently the doctors agreed, or they wouldn't have admitted you overnight. Your mom didn't go to medical school, and like too many people lacks a basic understanding of what constitutes an emergency. This is an RN speaking. You can tell her I told you so. Not the asshole. Hospitals don't admit people overnight, just for the hell of it. Obviously, you needed care, probably fluids and medication. Your mother was wrong in every way possible here. Not the asshole, the ER kept you overnight because there was genuine worry about your health. Don't feel guilty about asking your brother for help. He helped because he cares. Thank him for his help absolutely, but it doesn't sound like he's mad. Personally, I would stay up all night for the people I care about, and I know they would do the same for me should I need it. That's just what you do when you love someone. Your mom is an asshole for how she's making you feel about yourself.